那我们现在有4位那个语坛人，我4位语坛人。那我们帮我翻译一下，because we need some simultaneous interpretation. I will try to ask for our 4 discussants, try to limit your time. If it is possible, could you please limit your time to 10 minutes, including interpretation, please. Now, the first one I will try to invite Mrs. Batia Gilad. Okay. She's a chairperson of the International Janusz Korczak Association in Poland. Israel. Okay. I'm sorry. In Israel. Yeah. Okay. All over the world. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. You have the floor.
Okay. Thank you very much. Sorry. Thank you very much for inviting me here and give me the I would say the way to share my interest, but mainly my passion for the last 40 years about Korczak. But not as a person, but as an idea, as a thought. So my presentation will be the child has the right to express his view freely. And that's Korczak and the rights of the child. The Convention on the Rights of the Child has been ratified by all countries except for 2. It was enhanced legislation, policies, programs, policies and outcomes for children. 27 years after its adoption by the United Nations General Assembly on the 20th of November 1989, it continues to act as a catalyst for concrete action and implementation of child rights. Its success, however, does not imply that its mission is complete. On the contrary, much remains to be done to ensure children enjoy their rights. One aspect of the Convention that requires greater attention is a child's right to have his or her views taken into account. The importance of respecting children and their opinion was the main message of the Polish writer, doctor, and educator, Janusz Korczak, whose teaching came to inspire the drafting of the Convention. Years of work have confirmed me more and more clearly that children deserve respect, trust, and kindness, that it is pleasant to be with them in a cheerful atmosphere of gentle feelings, merry laughter, and atmosphere of strenuous first effort of surprises, of pure, clear, and heartwarming joys. That working with children is such an atmosphere in exhilarating, fruitful, and attractive. As a president of the International Korczak Association, I'm happy to tell you that Korczak legacy is alive. In more than 25 countries, we have associations that in different ways implement the rights of the child. The newest association was established a few months ago in Tunisia. The educational deed is a challenging and magical meeting point between the subjective grown-up and the subjective youngster. What comes between them is the knowledge, the experience, the qualification and experience of the adult, unhurt on values of human dignity wheresoever he is human. The ability to touch on all of these disciplines areas is concealed in the meaningful dialogue that is between the two of them. Korczak's educational approach provides educational and inspirational tools to achieve these goals. The principles underlying his educational legacy were considered innovative in his time and remain relevant to this today. One of the significant elements of dialogue is the ability to express oneself, an alternative and sensitive ear to what is being said out of mutual respect. Korczak was one of the forefathers of the Convention on the Rights of the Child, which was signed 65 years after the first call of Korczak to the League of Nations in 1924. Within the convention, we find the approach in which the child is treated as a young person who is unable to fend for his rights and therefore needs to the adult society to take care for him. All of this in order to enable him to grow and be a useful citizen, a mature and responsible citizen, a sensitive citizen, a citizen with equal rights and obligations in society at large. And Korczak says, the child is a foreigner who doesn't know the language, isn't familiar with the street plan, is ignorant of the laws and customs of the land. At times, he likes to go exploring on his own. When things get rough, he asks for directions and help. What he needs is a guide who positively answers his questions. The child's rights to education, as expressed in Article 28 of the UN Convention, is a significant expression of the realization of his/her rights. Education is the basis on which youngsters can develop, express their talents, develop their skills, become more professional, and make their lives more meaningful for themselves and for the society in which they live. In my opinion, Article 12 is most significant. You can't educate or raise a child if you don't know, if you don't hear, do not listen, do not give tools and ways of expression, if you don't have a meaningful dialogue. I would like to deal with Korczakian perspective to what practical extent is his legacy expressed. Developing different tools and surroundings where youngsters can unfold and pay attention to their needs are the basis for their being able to express themselves in an adult environment. The Korczak Educational Institute of Israel, the Korczak Educational Institute of Israel, in cooperation with the Ministry of Education, developed a set of posters which express Korczak's approach to a variety of selected topics in a special way. Each poster on its own and the set as a whole bring the child and its needs to the forefront so as to enable him to express himself in various ways. The kit of posters is entitled Educational Moments. And with great pleasure, I will leave an English version of the set for your enrichment. So please, it's yours. Yeah, it's yours. I will be... Yeah, of course. And we'll see some of that later. I will leave an English version of the set for your enrichment, and you are more than welcome to translate it into your own language for wider use. In Korczak's writings entitled Educational Moments, he strove to explain the world of children to adults, parents, and educational professionals. It is about accounts of true expressions analyzing particularly productive moments in children's education. So if the extent influences the effectiveness of the teaching, if it's cold in the classroom, if the child is hungry, if the noise is of the teacher's remarks prevent the child from concentrating, there must be a moment of particular quality which are more effective, more fruitful, more useful in the pedagogical process. Systematic note-taking, the adoption of the role of the observer, and the experience acquired over the time make it possible to pick out the value of those moments and to include them in the process of education. And Korczak says, respect for the present moment, for today. How he will manage tomorrow if we do not allow him a conscious, responsible life today? Respect for every single instant, for a past never to return, and always take it seriously. For Korczak, each moment of the youngster is an educational one, at home, at school, and in the courtyard. Each of the environments has an effect on the child, on his feelings, and on his ability to connect society, to absorb values, and grow. The kit of posters, educational moments, is a combination which combines visual and written texts. The texts are chosen from Korczak writings, and the visual part are based on the work of two of the orphanage graduates who, thanks to the sensitivity of their educators, Korczak and Stefan, and an awareness of their talents, succeeded to enabling them reach outstanding results. Itzhak Belfer, an artist and sculptor, resident of the orphanage in the years 1930-1938, and Shlomo Nader, photographer, resident of the orphanage from 1928 till 1936. Two panels of this kit are devoted to the people who formulated, implemented, and were active in the educational approach, Janusz Korczak and Stefa Wilczynska. As Korczak wrote about them, I'm a father with all the failures of one, constantly busy, never having any time, good at telling stories, but rarely doing so. Stefa is a mother. There are times when she is too wrong, when she too is wrong, but one is lost without her. She was really the Korczak's partner for his ideas and things. The final panel is dedicated to the dark days of the Second World War, when human values were severed. The period in which Korczak, Stefa, and the children were forced to leave their home, move into the ghetto, and fight not only for the children's spiritual and moral existence, but mostly for their physical being. The remaining 8 panels deal with the selected educational issues. The image of educator. Korczak sees the image of the educator as one whose duty is to be with the child in the times of distress and happiness. It is the duty of the educators to find their own befitting personal style on which to build a relationship with the child. A school. Korczak was critical to the school as it existed in the period of his time. It's interesting what he would say today. He aspired to a school with dialogue, in which a child receives recognition, in which his needs are respected, and school that will enable him to pave his way in the world. Trips. A meeting with objects and sights, a meeting of a person with himself and his God, says Korczak. Society and laws. If someone does something wrong, it is the best to forgive. But the court must protect the weak so that the strong do not annoy them. This order affects mostly the good, the quiet, and the conscientious. The subject of sustaining a democratic society in which everyone is equal and in which everyone has the opportunity to self-expression was one of the cornerstones of the education values of Korczak. The framework on which Korczak's drawing up should allow for increased personal development, but not less to this, it should enable the child social development. Mankind is not an island in his surrounding, but an integral part of society in which he lives. Therefore, society should allow each of everyone to be a part of it. It can only transpire if we productive the tools for each one, the weak and the strong, to express themselves, develop and become integrated. Korczak's approach is in favor of the weak. This can be seen through his life. From a very young age, Korczak wishes to abolish money in order to be able to play with the gatekeeper's son. Money brings about status differences, forming barriers between people. As a young child, he already feels that social equality is the basis for social and personal growth. His entire life compromises of making choices in this direction. He chooses to be a doctor, a profession that is entirely for serving mankind, unconditionally. He then chooses to be a pediatrician, seeing children as powerless human beings within the society. Work and responsibility. For Korczak, work was a high value for the establishment of real life. As a child, his entire person, work already in childhood years, is an integral part of his life. I would skip a little bit because of the time, if you promise, but I show you the postcards because it's one of the really, I like it so much. Life of the children's home was accompanied by constant feedback from various aspects of the children and educators' conduct. The postcard is not a prize, but a keepsake of memento, so you can remember it. Another one, and I skip it a little bit, Korczak recognized the importance of reading, writing the spoken word, children's books, and he says, a wonderful thing, a book. All that was invented by the cleverest man is to be found in books. Sometimes a person thought all his life, 100 years, and then wrote. Someone died quite some time ago, yet his thoughts are inscribed in a book. It is as if its book speaks, advises. Why suffer alone when you can find in books 100 teachers and consultants? And he's so right. Then he had a newspaper that we described in these posters, and only to say the newspaper can be linked as a bouquet of different flowers. The beauty of an entire bouquet depends on the variety of the flowers on which it comprises. The children are as flowers, different. Each one is different of them. And in conclusion, there can be no doubt as to the relevance of the topics that Korczak raises, and this is just from a monumental glimpse into the practical wealth of his writings. Korczak understood the world of the child, the thought in the terms of the children from within the understanding of an adult, from a deep understanding of the needs of children, the needs that have no change to this very day in the 21st century. Some of the ideas are still not fully understood, and they are absolutely relevant in the work for children's rights today. I wish to thank you for inviting me and for giving me the opportunity to share a fraction of which we are doing on behalf of the children's rights through the Korczak Association. I hope that you have been inspired and that soon we'll find a new association joining the rank of the international community, the Taiwan Korczak Association. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I do believe the Korczak will be very famous in Taiwan. Now, could I invite Mrs. Barbara Smolinska-Theiss? She's a professor of the Academy of Special Education in Warsaw.